Namaste, Sat Sri Akal, Salam Alaikum, Adab. So, in today's lecture, we will introduce the scripts for this language that we call Hinurglish, right? So, it's not really Hindi, it's not really Urdu, and it's not really South Asian like Pakistani or Indian English, right? It is a common spoken language that we use in South Asia. And so we call it Hinurglish. And the main difference between, let's say, Hindi and Urdu, or dialects of Hindi and dialects of Urdu, is the script that is used. So today what we're going to do, since for us the language is one common language, today we will introduce the scripts to you, and we're going to introduce both scripts at the same time. And we will introduce the sound system used by Hinurglish. So I will set it up using transcription. On a phonetic grid, we'll set up the sounds, and then we will provide the squiggles under each, the graphemes linked to the sounds under each of the romanized or transcription representation of the sounds. And the squiggles will be both in Hindi script, which we call Devanagari, script of the gods based on Sanskrit, and we will along with Devanagari, we will put the Urdu fonts there. The particular font that we are going to use, there are two of them. One is Nastalik and the other is Naksh. So somewhere like a combination of those, the graphemes will be linked to the sounds that are set up on a phonetic grid. Okay, let's get started. So first, let's set up the sound systems. Again, in order to do that, we have to divide up the consonants from the vowels. Now you might ask, what's a consonant? What's a vowel? Right? If we look at the English writing system, you know, A, B, C, D, there's no particular order to the way that the alphabet is set up. Also, consonants are mixed up with vowels. Now, what are consonants? So, if you pronounce a letter in English like B, right? B. So, we stop the airflow at the lips and we release it with the vowel, let's say E. So we get B, right? The next one is C. So again, there is a blockage of the airflow, though not complete. So we get S, and we release the vowel with an E and we get C. So you get B, C. Similarly, you get D. Okay. But then, you know, in the beginning, you have an A. It's a vowel. There's no blockage of the airflow and release, right? You can actually continue to say A until you run out of breath, you're blue in the face, whatever, right? Similarly, E, you can continue to do that. So the main difference between consonants like B, C, D, and vowels like A or E is the fact that in A and E, you can continue to say the vowel. There's no obstruction of the airflow in the oral cavity in the mouth area. Right? Whereas for B, C, D, right, you're obviously blocking the airflow. B, C, D, right? Those are consonants. Now, the airflow is being blocked at different points in the oral cavity, like B is at the lips. How about D? D. It's in the alveolar region for English, right? So the airflow is blocked in different places. And also think about other consonants. Let's say P. What is the difference between P and B? P, B, right? Or T and D. What is the difference between these two sounds? This is something called voicing. What is voicing? So first, we said that consonants are produced when the airflow enters the oral cavity. There is an obstruction of the airflow and then a release. The consonant itself is or 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 you don't hear the consonant because for some of these consonants, there is a total blockage of the airflow, and you hear it only when it is released with the help of a vowel, right? So you cannot continue to say P, for example. Well, that was P. You hear it only when you release it with a vowel and you go either P or with an A or P with an E. Right? One other fact about English, first we've seen that vowels are mixed in with consonants. Further, here we take a B, release it with E and get B. S, release with an E, C. Release with an E, D. E. Well, what do you get next? Do you get a fee? No, you don't, right? I mean, if we were following an order, it should have been B, C, D, E, and then fee. No. Here, what English does is it takes the vowel first, and we use an eh. You can write it anyway. In transcription, we tend to write eh like this. And then we follow it up with a f, right? So this should have been fee, but it is pronounced f. So they reversed the order of the consonant followed by the vowel in the pronunciation, right? I'm mentioning this because when we set up the Hindi-Urdu sounds, we will follow a consistent pattern of taking the consonant and releasing it with the vowel a, so that we get b. Okay? We won't write the vowel down, but we'll pronounce it all consistently. Okay, so we're going to go ka, ka, ga, gha, cha, cha, ja, ja, ta, ta, da, da, etc., all using the same vowel to release the consonant. Okay. A couple of other things that we will do, by the way, why are we doing this? In order to make the sounds predictable. What do I mean by that? We're going to put them on a grid, and unlike A, B, C, D, E, F, and then G and H, H is an interesting sound. Think about it. What is H? meaning that, with B, you can say B, oh, boy, or, you look up kitty alphabet books. That's what they do. B for ball, B for boy, right? Or D for day, D for date, whatever, right? What do you do with H? If you have a word, is this H at? No, right? Here's the sound that we use in pronunciation. We call this, or name for this letter is H, right? Well, obviously we don't say H at, right? So the sound itself kind of doesn't make sense, like calling it H doesn't make sense. And this is something we're going to avoid in Hindi-Urdu. When we introduce a consonant, the sound associated with it should be predictable and consistent, and that is the sound of the letter. Okay, I will call these the representation as graphemes, and the sound associated with a grapheme as a phoneme. Okay, and so here's what we're going to do. We're going to look at the grapheme to phoneme representation link. Okay, a mapping of the squiggle, the grapheme, to the sound it represents, which is the phoneme. Okay. And unlike English, which is in no particular order, we will do it on a phonetic grid with a predictable order. We will release the consonants. We're going to separate out, have the consonants first, and then the vowels in the next lecture. We will have not only a predictable order, but we will also have a predictable pronunciation for it, which will remain consistent when used in a word. Finally, so I have mentioned that the consonants, the obstruction of the airflow is at different points in the oral cavity. So we will make that a feature of defining the sound. And I also mentioned that even if it's at the same place, like pa and ba, right? Something must be different, and I mentioned the word voicing, or the feature, voicing. And we will use voicing as a feature. One last bit is about the way, even if the way air, a burst of air sometimes accompanies the production of a sound, right? So for example, take this consonant pa. Right? If I use it in a word and I begin a word with pa in English, standard American English, haha, good representation from me, huh? I'm a linguist, I'm okay doing it, right? So let's take words like Peter, pat, put. Okay? Do you notice that there is a burst of air accompanying the production of this consonant, pa? Similarly, Tom, talk, take, right? Tip. There is a slight burst of air accompanying the production of this consonant. This is called aspiration. This burst of air that accompanies the production of consonants like pa or ta in English, or ka, like king, right? Keep, could. It's aspirated slightly. as different from when you take it at the end of a word. So if you take a word like pack, okay, here what we have is this one is aspirated, but not the k, right? So we don't say pack, right? That's not aspirated. Or we take a word like tap. This is aspirated, which I'm putting with a plus H, but this is not. We don't say tap, right? So we will be using these features. Number one, place of articulation, which will mean where the blockage of or obstruction of airflow takes place. Secondly, we will use this feature of aspiration, like a burst of air accompanying the sound. And the third thing that I have mentioned is voicing, right? So what is voicing? You know, again, as the air is pushed up, when the diaphragm moves up, air is squeezed out of the lungs, enters this area, the larynx, and here we have our vocal cords. And when air passes through or between the vocal cords, they vibrate very, very quickly. They come together and move apart very, 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 very quickly. That's called voicing. You can feel that. Take something like, try saying "sir." Put your hands over your, well, for men, it's more pronounced, the Adam's apple area. And for women, it's not pronounced, but the physiology is the same, right? So you put your fingers here and say, now you keep your fingers there. Now try to say z. Z. Immediately you'll feel the vibrations. That is voicing. Okay, so these are real features. By the way, most of these features, trying to describe a sound, were first set up or mentioned or set up as a system by a grammarian called Panini. Nothing to do with your sandwiches, but roughly, I would say 3rd century before Common Era, Panini was doing excellent grammar. Grammarians from that area, South Asian area, have done some significant work in linguistics or grammar or whatever you want to call it. And these features to define a sound are used in modern linguistics even today. I have a PhD in phonology. Don't forget, I know what I'm talking about. All right? Okay, so what we're going to do now is show you the, a cut up, a sideways cut up human face. And so here is the nose. Okay, this is the, and here, let me put the, and here is the upper lip. This is the lower lip. Okay. This is not really Dracula's fang, but it's your upper teeth side view. Okay, so this is your upper teeth. Okay. And if you feel with your tongue behind your upper teeth, you'll feel a ridge. Just feel it. It's a bump. It's a hard bump behind your upper teeth. This is called the alveolar ridge. This ridge is called the alveolar ridge. And of course, beyond that, again, you can feel it with your tongue. you'll feel the hard palate. Okay. And if you go beyond that, so this is the hard palate. If you go beyond that, you'll feel the soft palate. Don't choke. But you can actually turn your tongue back and feel, you can go as far back as you can. So you'll feel the soft palate. And at the very back of your mouth, you see that appendage hanging, which is the uvula. By the way, linguists are crazy. You know, when I used to see the Batman sign, all I could see was the uvula. Look it up and see what I'm talking about. So this is the uvula. And what we're going to do is the place of articulation. We're going to start, when we set up the phonetic grid, we're going to start at the back of the mouth, at the uvular region. The soft palate is called the velar region. Okay, the hard palate will be called the palatal region. And somewhere here, so actually the where it's articulated is further up, just behind the alveolar ridge. Okay. So we start at the velar region, we move up to the palatal region, and then this area just behind the alveolar ridge will be called the retroflex area. Why do we call it retroflex? We curl the tongue back, right? Retro. We flex it back, obstruct the airflow, release. Something like ta. Okay. And if we block the airflow, let's say at the uvula, you get ka, ka. You block it at the velar region, you get ka, ka. You block it at the palate, you get cha, cha. You block it at the retroflex area, you get ta, ta. And then you move all the way up to the lips area, which is usually called the labial area. Wait, did I miss the teeth? Yes, I did. Okay. One more area before we get to the lips is the dental area or teeth area. And then we move up to the labial areas. The dental sound, an example is ta, ta, ta. And an example of a labial sound will be pa, pa, pa. Okay, right now, we're doing, not only are we doing only consonants first, but even of the consonants, we're going to do a subset where there is a total blockage or total obstruction or total complete stop of the airflow as it enters in the oral cavity. And we will set it up by where the airflow is blocked, so place of articulation. We will talk about, is the sound or is the consonant accompanied with a burst of air, so like a plus H, plus burst of air. The difference between a P and a P. The difference between a K and a K. Okay. Unlike English, where this aspiration is kind of limited, small burst of air, South Asian sounds are full on aspirated. Pa, pa. Okay. You know us, right? South Asians, nothing halfway. Pa, pa. Or ta, ta. duh, duh. A bit more about these sounds in a bit. So, place of articulation starting at the back, moving up front to the lips, aspiration, voicing is when the sound is being produced, are the vocal cords flapping? Are they vibrating to give you the voice sounds? Okay. And one last feature will be nasality or nasal. You know, when we, in English, for example, when we say n, when we are blocking the airflow in English at the alveolar ridge. However, you can continue to say the sound and air is flowing out through your nose. Through it enters the nasal cavity, gives you some resonance, like and then air continues to escape through the nose. But in the oral cavity, there is blockage, total blockage of the airflow at the alveolar ridge in English, and you get n, right? Or ma, blocking it at the lips. Okay. So this is what we will start off with in Hindi-Urdu. We are going to start off with a roughly 5 by 5 grid with 2 additional sounds. Okay, so that's coming up in the next segment.